Welcome to the lair of the Batty Boffin.
Hi there Batty fans, welcome to another video all about solving linear equations. Now in previous videos we have solved two-stage linear equations. In this video we're going to work our way up to 3 stages. You may also have noticed I've introduced another function here. As well as our multiplies and divides and adds and subtracts, we've also got a sneaky little square going on there. So I'll show you what to do with that in just a minute. I'm going to give you a demo on this first one and then you're going to apply exactly the same techniques and solve the one in purple. So here we go with the first one. First thing I'm going to do is work out the order of the operations, which ones are kind of closest into the x and which ones are further out. Imagine like you're wrapping up a pass the parcel. X is the prize in the middle and we wrap it up in the first layer. Now BODMAS, BIDMAS or PEMDAS tell you which layer comes in closest. It tells us that brackets or parentheses come closest. Well, there aren't any. And after that it's the E in PEMDAS, which is exponent, or the I in BIDMAS, which is index, or the O in BODMAS, which is order or other stuff. Basically they all mean that little squared, okay? That little squared is the next thing in. So after brackets, things like squares and square roots are the next closest in thing. After that we have multiplies and divides, and furthest out come adds and subtracts. So those are our 3 layers, and you can see why it's called the Cadbury's Cream Egg method. So in order to solve it, we're going to take the layers off, starting off the outside and working our way in. So the first layer we're going to get rid of is that add 4. We get rid of an add 4 by taking it away. And whatever we do on the left, we do the same thing on the right. So the next layer becomes 3x squared equals 12. Okay with that? So the next thing we're going to get rid of is that times by 3. So we're going to do a divide by 3 on both sides, and this becomes x squared equals 4. At which point you may go, aha, I know the answer, but just be a little bit careful because there's actually 2 answers to this. Let's just have a look. X squared is 4. That means a number that when you square it you get 4. Well, pretty obviously that's 2, isn't it? Because 2 squared is 4. But let's just write that down mathematically. The opposite of square is square root. Okay? So just like the opposite of times by 3 is divide by 3, the opposite of square is square root, which gives us x equals, on this side, the square root of 4. The square root of 4 has 2 answers. It's positive 2, or it could be negative 2. Oh yes, we have a question here that's actually got 2 answers. Now this isn't maths at all, is it? Maths is one of those, here is the answer and that is the answer kind of topics. But actually no, there are 2 answers here. The reason for that is one of the little diagrams I say a lot. All squares are positive. You draw a square and you put a little plus in it, it looks like a window. All squares are positive. Any number, when you square it, the answer is positive. Any number, even negative numbers. So 3 squared is 9. Negative 3 squared, as in negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Negative 3 squared is positive 9. All squares are positive. All squares are positive. All squares are positive. Which means that even if you take a negative number and you square it, you still get a positive number in the answer. The corollary of that is, if you're square rooting something like 4, it could have been 2 squared gives you 4, but also negative 2 squared gives you 4. There are 2 answers. We actually have a little symbol in this that we use sometimes. So you can write that as plus or minus 2. Okay, that shows that it's positive 2 or negative 2. Either answer is fine. So when you're square rooting things, remember there are 2 answers. Okay, 2 answers to all your square root problems. So using that technique and using amazingly similar working, just different numbers, could you please pause the video and have a go at the purple one? Right, let's start by identifying the layers. Again, the squared is the closest in layer, and then the multiply, and then adds and subtracts. So it's just the same as the blue one over there. So, getting rid of the outer layer first, we're going to add 3. I hope you added, not take away. We add 3 onto both sides, giving us a 5x squared equals 45, which we note with relief is in the 5 times table. By the way, the examples I give here are all going to have nice whole number answers. They might not in reality, but just for the ones we're doing here, they've got whole number answers. We'll deal with fractional ones later another time. Now we're going to do a divide by 5 on both sides to get rid of that times by 5, giving us an x squared equals 9, because 5 9 is 45. And then we need to square root. We just did this one, didn't we, just before the break? The square root of both sides. The square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 9 is plus or minus 3. Plus or minus 3. Did you get that? Good. I'm going to wipe down the board, and then we're going to come back with a couple more for you to practice. See you in a minute. Right, here are a couple for you to have a go at. Now I've put some brackets in these, so I've changed the order in which we do the operations. Use your BIDMAS, BODMAS, PEMDAS and put in those little Cadbury Creme egg circles to remind you what order they come in. And please note that 2x, the whole thing squared, is not the same as 2x squared. Okay, so have a go with that one, and we'll go through that together in just a minute. Right, using our BIDMAS, BODMAS, PEMDAS, that tells us that the bit in the brackets has to be done first, which means that the times is actually the closest in layer to the x there. After that comes the squared, and last of all, adds and subtracts on the outside. So that means we're going to get rid of the outer layers first by doing a subtract 3 to start off with. That gives us on the left hand side a 2x whole thing squared, and you must have the brackets. If you don't have the brackets in, it's something completely different. 2x whole thing squared equals 36, and then we're going to square root it to get rid of that squared, which gives us on the left hand side 2x, which equals the square root of 36, which, if you remember, has got 2 answers. So we could have plus 6, I'm going to write them out separately here, or minus 6. Plus 6 squared gives you 36, and negative 6 squared gives you 36 as well. You'll see why I've written them out separately in just a minute. So the final layer we've got to get rid of is that times by 2. So we're going to do a divide by 2 on both sides. So that means that x equals positive 6 divided by 2, which is positive 3, or negative 6 divided by 2, which is negative 3. So we've got 2 answers. They both happen to be 3's in this case, but they might not always be, so just watch out for that there. So positive 3 or negative 3 are the answers for the purple one. Hope you did okay with that. Same kind of process for the green one. Right, again we've got some brackets, so that means that it's actually the add, this add 4, that's the closest in thing, and then the squared, and then the other add. It's a bit unusual to have 2 adds in here, but you can't combine those into an add 6, so please don't try that. Okay, so getting rid of that add 2, we're going to do a take away 2. Left hand side becomes x plus 4, and again you have to have the brackets. Without those brackets it would be a 4 squared, so that'll be x plus 16, which is totally different. 11 take away 2, that's 9. Then we're going to do our square root, and here's where you'll see why I write them out separately. Left hand side becomes x plus 4, the right hand side becomes positive 3 or negative 3, and then we're going to get rid of this add 4 by doing a take away 4, which gives us x equals 3 take away 4. 3 take away 4 is negative 1, or negative 3 take away 4. Negative 3 take away 4 is negative 7. If you are not sure on how to do those, check out some of the Batty Boffin videos involving the naughty number knicker, that's not knickers as in pants, that's knickers, you know, it's not that kind of knicker at all. It's this stealing kind of knickers, nothing to do with underwear at all. Honest, it isn't. Anyway, check out some of the videos on that, and there are some downloadable sheets as well at my website, which is www.battyboffin.co.uk. Find some downloads there if you're not sure how to do it. Okay, there's going to be another video following this which has got exactly the same kind of stuff for you to have a little more practice if you want. I'll see you then. Bye bye for now.